The American empire is crumbling, and the dollar is bleeding out like a wounded beast in the financial jungle. While the so-called economic experts play their violin on Wall Street, the real power brokers, the ones who pull the strings behind closed doors, are already hedging their bets, quietly preparing for a world where the US dollar is no longer king. This is no longer some fringe theory whispered among conspiracy circles. The cracks in America's financial dominance are now visible to anyone willing to look. And yet, the political elites on both sides continue their circus act, selling the illusion that everything is fine while the country inches closer to the economic abyss. On one hand, the Republican establishment, led by Donald Trump's economic nationalism, has waged war on the global economy with reckless tariffs, isolationist policies, and a trade war that has backfired spectacularly. Trump promised to make America great again, but instead he has put the dollar in a chokehold, accelerating inflation and pushing allies and adversaries alike to dump the greenback. On the other hand, the Democrats, with their endless appetite for government spending and socialist fantasies, have created a system where printing trillions of dollars is considered smart economic policy, as if America can keep running up its debt indefinitely without consequence. The truth is, both parties have been complicit in America's financial suicide, and now the bill is due. Meanwhile, the rest of the world isn't waiting around for Washington to wake up. China is tightening its grip on global finance, Russia is pushing for an alternative currency system, and even traditional allies like Saudi Arabia are slowly backing away from the dollar. This isn't some temporary fluctuation in the markets, this is a tectonic shift. The foundation of America's economic dominance is being eroded, and the political class is either too corrupt or too incompetent to stop it. The result? A financial doomsday scenario where the US dollar crashes, inflation spirals out of control, and Americans wake up to a reality where their money is worth less and less with each passing day, and yet the media remains silent. The politicians keep lying. The people in power are doing what they do best, pretending that this house of cards will never collapse. But make no mistake, the reckoning is coming. The only question is, how bad will it get? Will the dollar survive, or are we witnessing the beginning of the end for America's financial empire? Stay with us till the end, because what comes next will shake the world. Hello and welcome back to Innovative Check YouTube channel, where we delve into the innovative and transformative projects changing our world. If you're new to the channel and enjoy learning about innovation stories around the world, you've come to the right place. Please subscribe, like, and comment to help boost our videos on YouTube. The markets are in chaos. The US dollar, once the undisputed king of global finance, is slipping further into uncertainty, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Wall Street is sounding the alarm, economists are scrambling to make sense of the crisis, and global powers are already positioning themselves for what could be the most dramatic shift in monetary dominance in modern history. The warning signs have been there for months, but now the decline is happening at a speed that even the most pessimistic analysts did not predict. For decades, the US dollar enjoyed an almost mythical safe haven status. Whenever a crisis struck, whether it was a financial meltdown, a geopolitical standoff, or even a full-blown war, investors instinctively flocked to the dollar. It was the default move, the unwritten rule of global finance. But suddenly that rule no longer applies. The usual patterns are breaking down, and the financial elite can no longer deny the disturbing reality. The world is losing confidence in the dollar, and that could spell doom for the US economy. The cracks in the foundation have been forming for years, but they became glaringly obvious as soon as Donald Trump's policies began to take full effect. The tariffs, the trade wars, the political instability, these factors alone were enough to rattle investor confidence, but when combined with an economy that is already on the verge of a downturn, it becomes a recipe for financial disaster. The markets are not just worried about the dollar weakening temporarily. They are worried about something far more devastating: the end of US financial supremacy. Despite all the reassurances from the Federal Reserve, inflation is still spiraling out of control. Official reports might claim that inflation is under control, but anyone who buys groceries or pays rent knows the truth. The purchasing power of the US dollar has been gutted. A gallon of milk costs nearly double what it did 5 years ago. Gas prices remain high despite desperate political attempts to manipulate them, And the cost of living crisis is hitting every level of American society. A weaker dollar makes everything worse. The U.S. relies heavily on imports, whether it's electronics from China, raw materials from South America, or manufactured goods from Europe. When the dollar weakens, those imports become more expensive, and that cost is immediately passed down to the consumer. This is why inflation isn't going anywhere, no matter how much the Federal Reserve tries to convince people otherwise. The very structure of the economy is flawed, and without drastic intervention, the American middle class will continue to be squeezed into oblivion. Trump's economic policies were supposed to bring America back to strength. That was the promise. Make America great again. Revitalize the economy. Bring back jobs. But instead, the nation is seeing the exact opposite. Manufacturing jobs are still disappearing, the trade deficit is exploding, and now the dollar is in free fall. Every major financial institution has taken notice, and many are beginning to hedge their bets against the U.S. economy. Just a quick reminder to hit the like button below. YouTube has been restricting my videos a lot recently because of bots, so your like does help out this video massively in terms of the algorithm in YouTube. The most alarming sign? Foreign nations are actively dumping the dollar in favor of alternative assets. China and Russia have been leading the charge, moving their reserves away from U.S. treasuries and into commodities like gold and oil. Even longtime allies of the U.S., such as Saudi Arabia, are making moves to reduce their dependence on the greenback. This is not just a temporary market fluctuation. This is a coordinated global effort to diminish America's financial power. The consequences of this shift are far-reaching. If the U.S. dollar loses its status as the world's reserve currency, the effects will be devastating. The government will lose its ability to print money at will, making it significantly harder to fund massive deficits. Interest rates will skyrocket as foreign investors demand higher yields to offset the risk of holding dollars. And, most terrifying of all, the American standard of living will decline dramatically as the cost of goods and services spirals out of control. But the problem isn't just external forces, it's the U.S. economy itself. The government's addiction to deficit spending has created a scenario where the only way to sustain growth is by printing more money. The national debt has surpassed $34 trillion, and there is no realistic plan to reduce it. In the past, the U.S. was able to get away with reckless spending because the dollar was the dominant currency. But if that dominance fades, the entire system comes crashing down. It's not just the stock market that's reacting to the crisis. The real estate sector is also feeling the heat. Housing prices are soaring, mortgage rates are rising, and fewer Americans can afford to buy homes. The wealth gap is widening, with billionaires like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk seeing their fortunes skyrocket, while the average American struggles to make ends meet. This economic imbalance is fueling resentment, and if history has taught us anything, it's that financial instability often leads to social unrest. The Federal Reserve is caught in a trap of its own making. If they continue raising interest rates to fight inflation, they risk plunging the economy into a full-blown recession. But if they cut rates, inflation could spiral out of control even further. It's a lose-lose situation, and the people in power know it. Behind closed doors, there is likely panic as policymakers scramble to come up with a way to stop the bleeding. But the reality is simple: the damage has already been done. If you are enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to subscribe, share the video, and comment. The biggest wild card in this entire scenario is the upcoming presidential election. If Donald Trump wins another term, his economic policies will likely escalate the trade war even further. If another candidate takes the White House, the markets will be forced to reevaluate their expectations and adjust accordingly. But at this point, no matter who is in charge, the trajectory of the U.S. economy appears bleak. The decline of the dollar is not just a temporary dip. It is a fundamental shift that could redefine global finance for generations to come. Wall Street is preparing for the worst. Major hedge funds are already diversifying their portfolios to protect against the dollar's decline. The smart money is moving into commodities, foreign currencies, and even cryptocurrencies as a hedge against the weakening greenback. Meanwhile, the average American is left to deal with the consequences of failed economic policies, rising prices, and a government that seems completely out of touch with reality. The U.S. dollar's fall is not just a financial story, it is a geopolitical event. that will have far-reaching consequences. Nations around the world are watching closely, and many are eager to take advantage of America's weakness. China is already positioning itself as the next financial superpower, with plans to expand its influence in global markets. Russia, emboldened by the U.S. economic struggles, is pushing its own currency agenda in an effort to weaken American dominance. And Europe, despite its own economic challenges, is seeking ways to decouple from U.S. financial hegemony. The days of unquestioned U.S. economic dominance are over. The question now is not if the dollar will continue to fall, but how fast and how far. Will the government be able to stabilize the situation, or are we on the verge of a historic financial collapse? The next few months will be critical. If investor confidence continues to erode, the dollar could fall even further, triggering a crisis that could shake the very foundation of the global financial system. The only certainty is uncertainty, and that should be enough to keep everyone on high alert. Thank you for your attention, and I welcome your thoughts and questions on this complex and vital subject. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to get exclusive videos about how phenomenally China is developing and growing its influence. Your subscriptions and likes motivate us to generate more content, so please keep supporting us. Check out this video showing on your screen right now, and I will see you on the other side.